Hello, nice to meet you, all of you. Okay, today I would like to talk about reconsidering liveness in digitally meditated performance. This is kind of, case study analysis of Agora through Heidegger's ontological framework. Basically, you know, I have kind of, thought because of the digital revolution of 21st century is fundamentally transforming the paradigm of performing arts. Technologies such as VR or AR or MR are not merely instrumental tool, but are restructuring the very ontological foundation of performance. The COVID-19 pandemic actually, in particular, normalized non-contact performance and digitally, mediated theater, prompting a fundamental re-examination of liveness, a core concept in performing arts. So I was kind of, checking out what is the definition of liveness. Actually, Oxford Dictionary, according to Oxford Dictionary, it said liveness is defined as a performance heard or watched at the time of its occurrence, as distinguished from one recorded on film and tape, etc. So, is it kind of, traditional, liveness and recent, modern liveness is changed or not? So I was kind of, checking out. Traditionally, lots of people talking about the physical co-presence of actor and audience, real-time interaction, and irreproducibility. But recently, due to the advance of technology, especially digital technology, what is liveness? So I was checking out lots of, research background. That is quite famous, scholar, Peggy Palin. She was, talking about performance is only life is in the present. So basically emphasizing liveness based on ontological purity. From her perspective, performance cannot be saved or recorded or documented. The moment it attempts to do so, actually it becomes something other than performance. This ontological approach emphasizes the uniqueness and presentness of performance, but has a limitation in capturing the complexity of digitally meditated performance. So I look another, researcher, what she was talking about liveness. And then this is Erica Fisher Little. She was talking about this kind of, she characterized liveness as the physical and spatial co-presence of actors and audience. So defining performance as an unrepeatable aesthetic experience created through encounters and exchanges between performers and audience via autopoietic feedback loop. But is it same liveness in VR theater? In VR theater, audience are physically separated in space. As you know, today we gathered around all around the world, Poland, South Korea, Serbia, and yeah, especially VR theater. We can't physically, gathered together. So basically, actors is a meeting in virtual space. And but we experience a real-time interaction. So such novel phenomena cannot be adequately explained by existing concept of liveness. Another researcher, Philip Oslander, he was pointing out very important thing. He was talking about media technology has infiltrated live events to such an extent that many things are actually hardly live at all. Yeah, that's right. Actually, if you think about, even though we are in the VR, probably when you're in Poland, the time difference. So it kind of recorded in a way, although we feel liveness in the VR, but actual things maybe, recorded. or little bit, kind of delayed in this, the technological environment. So this kind of, the discourse has a lot of kind of limitation. So in VR theater, we have to think about what kind of, limitation we have. So firstly, most research remains at the level of phenomenological description, lacking systematic inquiry into the ontological foundation of liveness. And secondly, they approach digital technology merely from an instrumental dimension and overlook the ontological implication of how technology itself transforms mode of being. And finally, there is insufficient philosophical analysis of the new modes of existence and presence that VR theater presents. So, in this study, this kind of study, I was aiming to analyze the essential difference in liveness between traditional theater and VR theater by applying Martin Heidegger's ontological framework. Yes, Heidegger's concept of design, being in the world, and presence provides a useful analytical frameworks for understanding the ontological structure of performance experience. So my question is like that. How is Heidegger's concept of design differently realized in traditional theater and VR theater? And what ontological differences does audience experience as being in the world show between the two media? And final question would be, one new ontological dimension does virtual presence in VR theater present? So I was looking for some Heidegger's framework, theoretical, framework, which is actually based on Heidegger's ontology. It was pretty hard, but I tried my best. So I will explain what kind of things I discovered. First of all, design and performance experience. Traditional theater and VR theater, if you compare to each other, for Heidegger point of view, design means being there and refer to special mode of human existence that is a being thrown into the world, whilst simultaneously projecting towards its own possibility of being. So design exists in the world through uncovering and is a being that reveals other beings and itself. So in traditional theater, design is revealed through the spatio-temporal presence shared by actor and audience within physical space. However, VR theater design presents more complex aspects. Audience experience a dual mode of existence between physical body and virtual avatar while wearing HMDs and entering virtual space. And second one, being in the world and theatrical reality. This is three structure characteristic of being in the world that Heidegger present: understanding, attunement, and discourse. It provides a core framework from analyzing theatrical experience. So understanding in traditional theater. So basically audience and understanding is processing of grasping, theatrical situation, unfolding on stage and constructing meaning. However, in VR, such understanding become more complex. Audience must learn how to use, all kind of, equipment. So you have to understand, this kind of, virtual environment. And second, attunement. Traditional theater, basically, attunement is through the atmosphere of physical space, actors' energy, and other audience reaction. However, in VR theater, it actually attunement is through visual or auditory and sometimes tactile stimuli elicit, bring out audience ontological openness. And final one is discourse. The structure of communication and meaning exchange between actors and audience appears differently in the two media. While discourse in traditional theater is primarily unidirectional, VR theater enable bidirectional interaction, creating new forms of theatrical discourse. An ontological dimension of presence. Let's move on to it. The question of presence is essential to discuss, as a liveness. The presence in traditional theater is realized through what Fisher Little called bodily co-presence. But VR theater introduced a new form of presence through technological mediation. This is not merely technological illusion, but a phenomenon that opens new ontological dimension. So I move on to the case analysis. We had, big collaboration, Korea and Polish together. So what we did, this is the poster, hybrid virtual theater, Agora. Agora is a hybrid theater project that combines virtual reality technology with traditional theater. Agora seeks to address integration of emerging technology into existing social structure through a unique combination of art and technology. The core case of this research, Agora, is an international VR theater project produced and directed Krzysztof Garbajewski and Kyounghee An by, through Korean-Polish collaboration in 2024. The case study actually shows some political reality in South Korea. Though this work addressed the urgent political reality of President Yoon Suk-yeol's declaration and withdrawal of martial law on 3rd December 2024. It was such a shock as a Korean. And this time, I was, kind of rehearsing our Agora project. And then the political reality where I live in South Korea, actually, this kind of matter actually put in our performance. So this develops philosophical reflection on democracy and freedom through real-time interaction between actors from both countries via VR technology with audience. So this case analysis performance structure is like that. First act, Alain Badiou's reinterpretation of the Plato's Cave. Second act, Michael Foucault and Utopian Body. And act 3, Myth of Air. Particularly in act 2, audience can directly experience the VR equipment, increasing active participation beyond mere observation. So you can have a look. You can have some kind of sense what kind of performance we did. So actually we started with this kind of environment. And then, the political issue in South Korea actually, in the performance. So this work transcends the mere technological experimentation and demonstrates how VR theater create a new form of ontological experience through shared presence, transcending spatio-temporal boundary and real-time testimony about political reality. This work actually having lots of opportunity. And also, although we are separated into the different country, but we have moment to become one, and that we feel like we are in the same place. So let's move on to study is ontological design analysis. What was the big kind of thing we learned from this case study? And actually, it was kind of a realization of multiple being there. So first of all, transcendence of spatial-temporal boundary and new mode of presence. Not merely physical location, but the space of ontological openness. In Heidegger concept of design, is there signifies not merely physical location, but the space of ontological openness. I discovered, in Agora, this there is innovatively reconstructed. Korean and Polish actors exist in their respective physical space, whilst simultaneously being present in a single virtual Agora space through VR technology. So, transcendence and traditional theater and VR theater, what was kind of a difference in between? So at the beginning, performance audience guided by one of actor. In this space, Polish and Korean actors separated by thousands of kilometers interaction in real time. Their testimony and performances through virtual reality technology will draw you deeply into philosophical and political questions. And this present actually a new ontological dimension of telepresent that transcend traditional theater's physical co-presence. Despite being physically separated, actors experience genuine encounters and interaction in virtual space. So, second one is a testimonial presence, a real-time sharing historical event. More notably, actors' testimony about experience martial law function not as mere past recollection, but as present testimony. Individual experience shared in VR space transform personal experience into collective memory. Yeah, so personal experience become collective memory. And testimonial presence, real-time sharing on historical events. Uh, I mean, in our script, there was one kind of paragraph. This actor was saying, the day was the last day of my performance. 2 hours before the martial law declaration, while he's dismantling the stage after finishing the final performance. I heard the news of a martial law declaration. For about 2 hours and 40 minutes that day, we witnessed clear anxiety. Such testimony vividly realized the ontological meaning of anxiety that Heidegger discussed. At the moment when everybody tranquility suddenly transformed into the fundamental anxiety, design become aware of its thrownness and finitude. By sharing such personal anxiety in VR space, audience also experience a moment of ontological awakening. Okay, so in Agora, audience understanding, is complex and structured. According to Heidegger, understanding is not mere, cognitive grasp, but projection towards the possibility of being. So there was a multi-layered understanding structure, technical understanding, cultural understanding, philosophical understanding, ontological understanding. Audience become not mere spectator, but important part of this space. This is kind of, example. There was, few audience in South Korea. Audience became part of this space. They are wearing their own equipment, VR equipment, and they become an actor. They no longer just a spectator. It was very interesting moment, and this requires understanding as active participants and subject of mini construction, and transcending traditional passive viewing. Okay, and VR realization of being in the world, new dimension of understanding amusement discourse. Audience can experience unique attunement whilst experience complex relationships between their physical body and virtual avatar. And there was a realization of bidirectional discourse. Traditional theater has a primarily unidirectional, but VR theater genuine bidirectional. So articulation of being with through digital media, especially particularly in Act 2, where Michelle, Foucault's utopian body text recited, audience experience unique attunement whilst experience complex relationship between their physical body and virtual avatar. Okay, ontological analysis of a virtual presence. We can find a simultaneous realization of multiple presence, several layers of presence, physical presence, virtual presence, testimonial presence, and cultural presence. Audience and actors and simultaneously experience a several layer of presence. So, body existing in respective actual space, Korean performance venue, and Polish studio. And avatar existence in Agora space realized through VR technology. And temporal presence through real-time testimony about historical events of martial law. And solidarity presence through the shared political experience, transcending borders, and such multiple presence, a new paradigm transcending Peggy Palin's physical co-presence, centered the liveness concept, or Philip Osland's media opposition concept. So I would like to make a conclude this study. So all these, researchers, in Pegpalen and, Litte and Oslander, their kind of, research reveals the limitation of existing liveness theories through case study analysis of Agora and presents a new directorial framework for performing arts in digital age. Peggy Palin's liveness concept centers on physical co-presence, and Philip Oslander media oppositional approach, and Erica Fisher-Litte's and autopoietic feedback loop concept all fails to adequately explain the complex reality and realize in VR environment. So I would like to make a conclusion. What is liveness in our VR theater? Ontological liveness, I would like to say. Ontological liveness is based on Heidegger's ontology, has a four characteristic: multiple presence, spatio-temporal transcendence, and political intimacy, and ontological openness. In Agora, audience and actors have their physical body remains in respective local space, while their virtual avatar meets in the shared digital era, Agora, and past trauma and present anxiety and hope for future are integrated into the one present experience. Okay, this is conclusion. Traditional theater has a specific time and space, but VR theater and reconstruct these all constraints. Korean nights and Polish day are integrated into the one performance time, and different cultural contexts are connected through the common political experience, and creating new community at an ontological dimension beyond the mere technological connection. Okay, Agora is an important experiment that transcends individual works to reconstruct the ontological foundation of performing arts in digital age. Analysis through Heidegger's ontological framework and reveals that such experiments are not merely technological innovation, but philosophical exploration, investigating new possibility of human existence. The concept of ontological liveness presents the direction of 21st century performing arts, where VR theater crosses the boundary between tradition and innovation, and local and global, individual and collective, reality and virtual. This means that an era when digital technologies fundamentally changing human condition of existence, performing arts must not passively, adapt to such change, but actively explore and present new possibility of being.